So now we will do the second verse. Let's look back what we accomplished in the first verse. 2 stages. Advaita Vedanta in this Manisha Panchakam is taught in 3 stages. 2 of them have been accomplished in the first verse. What are the 2 stages? The first one is that I am the consciousness, the witness of the waking, dreaming and deep sleep. So consciousness apart from waker and the waking world, apart from and illumining, pervading the dreamer and the dream world, apart from and illumining the darkness of deep sleep. That consciousness I am. 1. That was stage 1. There are these procedures in Advaita Vedanta called prakriya, procedures. This is one of them. One procedure is called the method of the 3 states. These are methods of investigation. Investigation into what? Investigation into what am I? Into who am I? So one way is to look at our experience, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and see that there is one consciousness in which all 3 come and go. They're playing in that one consciousness, and I am that one consciousness. That is stage 1. There are other procedures like this. For example, seer and the seen. Drig drishya. I am the experiencer, the seer. By seer I mean hear, smell, taste, touch. I am the subject, experiencing subject. And whatever I experience, whatever I can label as, this is an object. And I am separate from the object. I am never the object, ever the subject, never the seen, drishya, ever the seer. Na drishya vastu iti. We saw in the 3rd line of this first verse. I am never an object, never a thing. But I am the experiencer of the thing. And obviously the body is experienced as a thing. And so on. So drig drishya viveka, the discernment of the seer and the seen, this is another procedure, prakriya. It comes to the same conclusion, that I am the witness consciousness. This is another one which we tried in the morning, the way of the 5 sheets, panchakosha viveka. That comes to the same conclusion, that I am the witness consciousness apart from the 5 sheets, which constitute the human personality, the body-mind complex. Whether drigdrishya viveka, whether panchakosha viveka, or avasthatraya viveka, I come to know I am the consciousness, unchanging witness consciousness, the experiencer, or the subject, pure subject, never an object. By pure, when I say pure subject, pure consciousness, I don't mean in the sense of pure means a good, nice consciousness or a nice subject, free of all bad thoughts. Pure here means the objectless subject. There is no element, mixture of the object with the subject. It means the seer without any mixture of the seen. Drishya is not there. It's only the drashta. That's the pure consciousness, what I mean. So this was first sentence, the first line of the first verse. Jagrat swapna sushuptishu sfutatara ya samvidujrimbhate. That one consciousness which is clear in and through waking, dreaming and deep sleep. That I am. Stage 1. Stage 2, if you remember, is it one consciousness only in my waking, dreaming and sleeping, and another one there and another one there, in each of us separate consciousnesses, or one consciousness in all separate bodies and minds? And the answer was, from the highest gods to the most humble creature crawling on the earth, that awareness inside is one same all throughout. It's one consciousness. Bodies are different, nobody doubts it. Minds are different, nobody doubts it. But the witness of the body-mind, that witness consciousness which I find within, is actually everywhere, in all beings. Second stage. Do you see what was achieved in the second stage? It's a unification of consciousness, let us say. One consciousness. So at that level of consciousness, as bodies we are different. As minds we are different, which means as persons we are different. But beneath it, more fundamental than body and mind, in the background of the body and mind, there is this fundamental oneness, which is this consciousness. Not to be achieved, not that after a lot of Vedanta classes we will be one. No, it's already there. It's an accomplished fact. In Sanskrit, siddha vastu, an accomplished fact. It's not something that you have to achieve with a lot of prayers and meditation and studies. We may come to know of it. We may come to be aware of it. But we means the mind here. The mind may come to recognize it. But we are one at that level. Second stage. But what it is not Advaita. It is not non-duality yet. Why not? What remains? Now what have we done? At the second stage, the second line of the first verse, we see that we are one consciousness in all bodies and minds. But the moment you say all bodies and minds, the question still remains. What are these bodies and minds? What is this vast world, universe spread out before consciousness? Maybe I'm one consciousness in all beings, fine. But then that doesn't explain the multiplicity, this enormously rich universe spread out. And clearly it is different from me. We just did that. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm the witness of the body. I'm not the waking world, not the dream world, not the deep sleep darkness. I'm the one separate witness of everything. We've done that. So basically we have separated ourselves from the universe. All that, in our state of ignorance, we do that. Only the difference, the borderline of separation, the margin of separation is at this body. Up to this body, I am. Beyond this body is the universe, which includes all of you. That's how we think, right? Usually. What has Vedanta done? What it has done is, it has pushed the body and even the mind out into the universe. I am the witness consciousness. Are you with me? I am the witness consciousness, and what I earlier thought was I, which I included within the definition of I, has now been pushed out into this. This universe, correct? This body, this mind, this personality, this. So I am the witness. But that still means there is two. Why two? There is plurality. I am the witness, and apart from me all of this is here. That is not non-duality. Non-duality would mean one reality, apart from which no second exists. Here definitely a second exists. The moment you say I am not the body, not the mind, I am the witness, then the body and mind become a second to you, an other to you. So we have not yet accomplished non-duality. Why did we do this? We will accomplish non-duality now in the second verse. Why did we do this? Because unless we identify, unless we recognize the reality within us, that consciousness, from there we can have non-duality. You cannot have non-duality at the level of the body, because the level of the body there's so much difference. The level of the mind there's so much difference. But when you come to this consciousness, from there now we will proceed to accomplish this non-duality. What does the second verse say at the beginning? It says, Brahmaivahamidam jagatcha sakalam chinmatra vistaritam. I am Brahman, and this entire universe, idam jagatcha sakalam, this entire universe, chinmatra vistaritam, is an expansion, is a play, is a projection. Vistaritam here means the projection of you, Brahman, your consciousness. You, the consciousness, you alone are appearing as the world, as the body, as the mind. See, here is an interesting thing to know about Advaita Vedanta, a key to the secret of Advaita Vedanta. Have you noticed? Advaita Vedanta seems to be saying two contradictory things at the same time. First you say, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the witness consciousness, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, one. And then almost in the very breath you seem to say, I am Brahman, everything. How can you say I am not this, not this? The next moment you say, I am everything. How is that possible? So always remember, Advaita Vedanta is understood, accomplished, realized in two steps. Last year when I came to Hollywood, I gave a talk. 2 steps to the not to. Not to Advaita. Advaita means not to, non-dual. So 2 steps to the not to. What are the 2 steps? First, neti neti, not this, not this. By the process of the 3 states, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, avasthatraya viveka, or by the process of drigdrishya viveka, or by the process of the 5 sheets, pancha kosha viveka, by any process. Find out that you are this unchanging witness consciousness. Step 1. But this is not non-duality. This is what the Sankhya philosophers, the Yoga philosophers, they have come to this step already. So this is 1 step. So next step is, whatever you said was not this, now reduce it back into what you found yourself to be. You see that I alone am all of this. If you say that you could have said it at the beginning, just say, if you're going to say I alone am all of this, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. If you say, I am all of this, but by I mean, I have no doubt that I am this body. Now, to next say that I am all of this makes no sense. How is the body all of this? Very clearly, just a millimeter away from the body is the clothes, which I am not. So, and forget about rest of the world. So, at the level of the body-mind, you cannot say non-duality, that I am all of this. It's just ridiculous to say that. To achieve non-duality, to realize the non-dual truth, first you have to find out that non-dual truth within yourself. And then only from that point of view, look back and you see everything. Sri Ramakrishna put it this way. When you enter a house and you climb up to the roof, you leave the door behind, the first floor behind, the second floor and third floor, and finally come to the roof. And then you see, leaving it behind, neti, not this, not this, not this. Then you see what the roof is made of. The same cement and concrete and the bricks. When you look back, what you left behind, the stairs and the first floor and second floor and the up down to the door and the basement, they are all made of the same thing. Then you realize what the roof, that is the absolute, Brahman, pure consciousness. And the rest of it is a projection of that pure consciousness. Then only Advaita is achieved or realized. Then only you can say there is one to which there is no second. When Advaita Vedanta is taught as Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Brahman alone is real, the world is false. Why is the world false? What's the point of saying the world is false? When it is false, then it's not a second reality apart from Brahman. If there is the desert and the water, which looks like water in an oasis, you realize it's a mirage. Then are there two things, the desert and the mirage and the water? No, because that's not real water. When you mistake a snake, a rope for a snake, are there two things or one? After the mistake is corrected, there's only one thing, the rope. You don't say there are two things. There's one rope and one real rope and one false snake. You can't count the false with the real. So there is only the real rope. The false snake is nothing other than the real rope, mistaken to be separate. Similarly, when we saying that Brahman is real and the world is false, what it means is Brahman alone is appearing as a separate world. The non-separateness, non-duality of Brahman becomes established. You see, it all boils down to the question of the relationship of consciousness to its objects. There are four possible options. What are we talking about? Consciousness and the objects. What do you mean by object? What we discussed in the morning today? Whatever you see here in this world, whatever you're seeing up to the body and the mind, they're all objects. Objects to what? To you, the consciousness. So now, in the first verse, we established the separation of the two. Now I'm asking a question. There are apparently two things. You, consciousness, and what you are aware of, what we labeled as this world, this person, this body, this mind, this thought, this Vedanta, this. Now I'm asking, what is the relationship between you, the consciousness, and this object, this universe? What's the relationship? Four possible answers. There may be more, but broadly speaking, one answer is that object is fundamental and consciousness emerged from the object. This is one possibility. The object, material universe, is fundamental and consciousness emerges from the object. Which point of view is this? This is the scientific point of view, the materialist point of view, the reductionist point of view. This is the ancient materialist, Charvaka. And the modern scientist has not gone, in principle has not gone one step further than the ancient materialist. In detail, of course, in knowledge and power, of course. What is the story here? The story here goes something like this. Near the ashram in New York, there is the Museum of Natural History. So if you go in there, there is a big show, a 3D show about the evolution of the universe and all. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, in his baritone voice, you will hear this story. The story goes like this, that there was this Big Bang billions of years ago, and What we today know as matter and energy and time and space all emerged from there. Over billions of years, stars were ignited, planets were formed, and on this planet, over a process of billions of years, matter became more and more complex. There was organic matter, and that somehow combined to form what we call life forms. And those life forms evolved, and Darwinian evolution kicked in over millions and millions of years. Small, tiny organisms, and then more complex and more complex, coming out of the oceans into the land. They evolved these bodies. And Richard Dawkins calls us gene machines. Fundamental thing is the genes, and we are just machines, carriers for the genes. So everything that we think about ourselves, body, personality, mind, consciousness, these are all apps used by the genes to propagate themselves. You are just a machine for the genes. So after some time, these bodies became sufficiently complex to evolve nervous systems and brains. And these nervous systems and brains somehow became consciousness which we feel in ourselves. And now we are asking the question, who are we, where we came from, and science and philosophy and all of that is happening. So consciousness is a very high order evolute. Fundamentally it is brain, which is fundamentally nothing other than a living body, living tissue, which is nothing other than organic matter, which is nothing other than protons and neutrons and electrons, which is nothing other than, if you go further down, quarks and maybe superstrings, who knows? And that is the story. So what is fundamental? Object, matter, space, time, energy, that is fundamental. Consciousness is a very late development. It has come, that's the story. It has come with the development of very complex living organisms. And so what's the problem? The problem is huge, because you don't really think of yourself as matter. We think of ourselves as sentient beings, as conscious beings, right? A scientist says, yesterday we were discussing, you are the universe. It sounds very Advaitic. They're not at all. They don't mean it that way. We are the universe means the universe is made of free-floating atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, and quarks, and so on. And we are also made of that. So one day this body will fall apart, we will die, but those atoms and quarks and neutrons will still be floating around. So you are in that way, you are there. No. This doesn't convince us. I'm not happy with that. I always was there. I was not really there in this story. It was the constituents which this was there. Woody Allen, he was asked, so you want to be immortal on the silver screen, on the movies. You want to be immortal. That's why you make movies. You want to be immortal on the silver screen. And he said, in his typical manner, he said, no, I want to be immortal in my apartment in Manhattan. That's what we all want. We want to continue as conscious beings, not as protons and neutrons, and that has no... Anyway, so this is the story. Consciousness evolved from matter. There's an opposite point of view. Object or matter evolved from consciousness. Consciousness is fundamental, and this material universe has come from consciousness somehow. Who says this? All religions. All theistic religions, just a philosophical way of saying God created the universe. You see, no religion which believes in God will say that my God is a non-conscious God, is unconscious, is a zombie. No. Every religion believes that the creator God is a conscious God, capable of thought and intelligence and all of that. So this is the theist religion, theist religion. So whether it is the Christian God who creates the universe, or the Old Testament Abrahamic God of the Jews, or Allah, or Vishnu in the Vaishnavite system, or Shiva, or the Divine Mother, Durga, but everywhere you will find the universe is attributed to a conscious divinity. So that's another way of relating the two, consciousness and object. Object emerges, God creates this universe. Third, the two are parallel. Who says this? Sankhya. How do you know that? say that we have seen the YouTube video. That's the that's the problem. Everybody knows everything now. And unfortunately, I don't have new things to say. Whatever I have to say was discovered 5,000 years ago. So it's now I'm in a fix. I asked a professor. He's a professor he's an expert in Chinese studies. He's an Indian expert in Chinese studies. He's a top expert in Chinese studies in Oxford University. In fact, the Oxford very short introduction to China was written by him, Rana Mitter. So somehow I happened to meet him, and I was saying that this is the problem. The YouTube seems to say everything's out there. So we say, oh, Swami, we have heard that. Now I feel I'm pressurized to say something new, but I don't have anything new to say. And then he said something very nice. He said, no, when people go to listen to their favorite pop music group or rock band, they want the golden oldies. They don't want to hear new things from you. They want to hear about Brahman and Atman from you. So Sankhya philosophy or yoga philosophy says consciousness did not come from matter, matter did not come from consciousness. The two are fundamental realities. They continue together. And they call them Purusha and Prakriti. Consciousness is called Purusha, and the whole material universe is called Prakriti. They interact, and that's how we have this world, our lives. Where do they interact? Right now. You are the example of the interaction of Purusha and Prakriti, of consciousness and matter. You are consciousness, and you are encased, or you are in association with a body-mind provided by Prakriti for you. Notice, it's a very beautiful system. Entire play of science can be contained within Prakriti. So whatever science says, absolutely accept it. And consciousness is something separate, but it interacts with that. Now, where is Advaita Vedanta here? Non-dual Vedanta, what we are talking about. Not here, not here, not here. You might say non-dual Vedanta says object was produced by consciousness. We just read Chinmatra Vistaritam. We just read consciousness alone. But Vistaritam here means projects. Consciousness does not actually create matter. Consciousness does not actually give rise to a separate reality called matter, like God creating the universe. No. Just as the rope does not actually create a snake. It's an illusion because of our error. Just as the desert, when there's a mirage, it doesn't actually create water. It looks like that. So consciousness itself appears as this universe. So we can sort of put it this way. The fourth option would be the Advaitic option, where consciousness sort of appears as the object. The object, I put it in a dotted form, Advaita. And consciousness appears as the object. Consciousness real, object is an appearance. There are not two. See, when you are saying God created the universe in dualistic religion, there are actually two things. There is a creator and a created. In Sankhya, there is the separation between consciousness and object. In materialism, there's definitely a separation. In materialism, actually, there's no separation in the sense that it is the object alone which ultimately appears as consciousness in some complex bodies and minds. In Advaita, it is like materialism, but just the opposite. Just the opposite. Instead of matter finally appearing as consciousness, here it is consciousness which appears as matter. Just the reverse. Swami Vivekananda says, I am a materialist of a sort. He says, tongue-in-cheek, And what he means is that instead of saying matter is fundamental, I say that consciousness is fundamental. And consciousness alone appears as what we call the material universe. You see, right now, one of the major problems is this relationship between consciousness and matter. Since this is the prevailing worldview, science has to answer the question, how consciousness comes from matter. Science has to answer the question. And you'd be surprised to know that it is a huge, huge problem. We should be able to solve this problem. If you're saying the brain produces consciousness, that's the prevailing wisdom. But how does matter produce perceptions, thoughts, feelings, subjective first-person experiences? This is the so-called hard problem of consciousness. So I'm glad I'm teaching Advaita Vedanta at this time, when this is being asked in the proper way by consciousness studies experts all over the world. David Chalmers, who is in New York, NYU, He's the head of the mind-brain consciousness unit there. He's a philosopher. He has coined this term, the hard problem of consciousness. Basically, the question is, how can a physical entity like this, or this lectern, or this pen, the brain is also a physical entity. Nervous system, brain, it's a physical, living physical entity. How can it have an internal aspect? What does it feel like to be inside? You know, sight, sound, taste. When you're tasting coffee, there's a particular flavor which you experience. There's a warmth and there's a flavor which you experience. There's a satisfaction, there's a reaction to it. All of these are experienced quite apart from the actual chemical things which are going on. When the coffee touches your tongue and the neurons are firing in the brain, that's the physical component of it. But you inside, you are not feeling neurons flashing or sparking. When you drink coffee, you don't feel a little burst of electricity. No, you feel warmth and taste and flavor and alertness, none of which are captured by those bursts of electricity. They are somehow associated. Clearly they are associated. But how? And why? You would be surprised to know there is no explanation for this. I've been attending some of the talks, so David Chalmers sort of knows me as the guy in orange. In fact, in one of the, it's there in YouTube, you can't see me. David Chalmers is speaking, he's conducting a seminar in NYU on the hard problem of consciousness. And Q&A, he's conducting the Q&A, and he says, okay, the guy in orange. And then you can hear me speaking. That was me, but they don't show me on the camera. And even recently, so what does David Chalmers think of Sankhya or Advaita? I'm glad to tell you, just last year in NYU, there was, in the philosophy department, there was a seminar, a colloquium, the hard problem of consciousness and Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta perspective on the hard problem of consciousness. A young professor from Australia, Miri Albahari, she is working on Vedanta and Buddhism, and she's written a number of very nice papers. So she is saying that exactly what we are talking about, that the solution lies in the Advaita Vedanta perspective of consciousness. So, and there is one more person. Oh, in that seminar, I remember, it was, I went to attend that seminar, and there were a few from the Vedanta Society who tagged along also. So we attended it, and it's a small group, maybe about 20 people. But some of the top philosophers in the world, if you Google right now, top 10 philosophers now, living. If you just say top 10 philosophers, it will say Plato and Aristotle and Socrates. But living now, in that list, 3 or 4 of them were in that room. And they are discussing what Advaita Vedanta has to offer to the hard problem of consciousness. So did they buy it? No, it's a tough crowd. But I will say this much. All the objections to the Advaita Vedanta perspective, they all stand on a misunderstanding of Advaita. Some misunderstanding. You can point out that when the question comes, why is this like this? How can, this is not acceptable? But they're misunderstanding Advaita in some way. If you clarify that, then the objection doesn't stand at all. Anyway, so that's what's going on now. What does David Chalmers himself say about the hard problem of consciousness? He recommends, he propounds something called panpsychism. He says, it's quite possible, he says it's a crazy idea, it's quite possible, he says, consciousness is not produced by the brain. It's not produced by matter. It's a fundamental reality of the universe, just like matter, energy, time and space. So consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, he says. Nothing more than 5,000 years ago, Kapila was saying the same thing. Yoga philosophy, Patanjali and Sankhya philosophy, they are saying, what he is saying is this. There is matter, it's real. It's not a projection like Advaita says. It's a real thing out there, separate from consciousness, but consciousness and matter interact. Consciousness is fundamental, not produced by matter. Panpsychism. And it's led to tremendous controversy. Many scientists do not agree, most of them. Because it's impossible, it doesn't fit in the paradigm. Because you see, the scientific paradigm is, they have taken this to be real already. They have assumed this to be real. Matter is assumed without question to be the only reality. So everything else, life must be a product of matter. Mind must be a product of matter. Consciousness must be a product of matter. And I have had this argument with different philosophers, of scientists. And there's a person who is a well-known biologist and the head of philosophy in CUNY, City University of New York, Massimo. So his point was, He doesn't agree with David Chalmers. He said, oh, David Chalmers, panpsychism, he comes up with one idea after another, each worse than the earlier one. I said, why is it bad? His point was, he's a biologist. So his point was, just a few years ago, maybe 50 or 100 years ago, life was the great mystery. And people thought life cannot be explained by science. But now we understand, life is explained down to almost the molecular level. Is explained by science. So right now, consciousness seems to be the great mystery. It cannot be explained by brain processes. He says, give us time, 30, 40, 50 years, and we will be able to explain consciousness satisfactorily in terms of the brain and nervous system. Consciousness, he says, is something that goes on in living tissue. How? We don't know. He says, we are honest. We have no idea how it's happening right now, but we will be able to do it. Just like we have explained life, we will be able to explain consciousness. This is called promissory materialism. Yes, it's a term. If you Google it, you will find it. Promissory materialism is, I will explain it, just give me time. 30, 40 years, 50 years, 100 years. No. No. It cannot be done. Why not? From a Vedantic perspective, we know enough right now, after doing the first verse, you can say what is wrong with this approach. If you say, life was a mystery, now I explain life in terms of molecules, chemistry, I can explain life in terms of biochemistry. So consciousness is a mystery. I can also explain later on, sometime it will come when I can explain consciousness in terms of brain activities. Why is this wrong? There's a big fundamental problem there.
It's not a thing.
Right, it's exactly, who said the subject, it's not a thing, right, correct. This is a simple thing that they are not seeing. You know what is the problem with that answer? The problem is this. Vedanta will say, when you say, put this question to a Vedantin, to Shankara or somebody, immediately they will reply, or the Chandala. Chandala might do a better job of confronting Massimo. He will say immediately, prana, life, is an object or not? Did we not do that? This breathing is just one aspect of prana. Every other physiological aspect, circulation of blood, the production of hormones, enzymes, digestion, every other, including neuronal activity, all of them are activities of prana. Are they objects or not? Yes. The breathing you can see like this. With finer instruments, medical instruments, even the more subtler activities in the body, they also become presented to your consciousness. So all of the activities of prana is an object. And what you have done, O scientist, is you have explained an object in terms of other objects. You have explained life forces, prana, in terms of other objects called organic processes in the body. But consciousness is not an object. Now you are saying that I will explain consciousness in terms of an object called neuronal activities in the brain. That's an object. No, you're making a category mistake. You're making a jump. David Chalmers humorously says, in an interview, he says that if you spend long enough on the hard problem of consciousness, you will either become a panpsychist or you will go into administration. You'll give up and become an administrator. Go into administration. There is another philosopher, Galen Strawson. He is even more bold. He is in the University of Texas. His father was, I didn't know that until recently, his father was a very famous philosopher in England, Peter Strawson, so he's called the younger Strawson. Galen Strawson, he takes the bull by the horns. He says, there is no hard problem of consciousness. Instead, he says, there is a hard problem of matter, which Shankara and the Chandala would appreciate very much. He says, what is the problem of consciousness? What nonsense. Consciousness there's a problem only because you have assumed that somehow brain produces consciousness. One. Second, how brain produces consciousness, I don't know, hence there is a hard problem. I have assumed here is consciousness, clearly it is produced by the brain, because that's what my paradigm tells me, scientific paradigm. But third, consciousness, brain, third, I don't know the connection between the two, hence hard problem. But you first let go of that assumption that the brain is producing consciousness. Then you see there is no hard problem of consciousness. Rather, consciousness is the most evident thing of all. The most evident thing, the most clear thing. What is most evident to us except consciousness? All that we are doing right now, you're seeing, hearing, talking, thinking, in what? In consciousness. All our science is done in consciousness. All our religion is done in consciousness. All our philosophy and medicine and brain science, all of that is done in consciousness. So everything is done in consciousness, all our life. It's not just one more problem to be solved. It is the fundamental problem. Do you see the difference? Consciousness is fundamental. Rather, he says, Garen Strawson says, what is matter is a mystery. The more we are discovering, more we are understanding quantum mechanics, string theory, the CERN super collider, matter seems to be disappearing before our eyes. Smaller and smaller and smaller. We are not coming to any fundamental unit of matter at all. So he calls it the hard problem of matter. Slightly tongue-in-cheek. This is no problem of consciousness. We could not state the next sentence which will come in this verse, Maya. We could not state it any more clearly than this. Consciousness is fundamental and matter appears to consciousness. So what is the Advaita approach? The Advaita approach is this. What is that Advaita way of relating consciousness and matter? How do we come to this conclusion? That consciousness is fundamental and matter is an appearance in consciousness. Why not the other options? So what Advaita says briefly is this. If two things cannot be experienced separately, then we have no right to call them two independent realities. If two things cannot be experienced separately, we have no right to call them independent, separate realities. What does it mean? This pen, it looks like one entity. I'm giving a crude example. It looks like one entity, but actually there are two here. There's a cap and there's a pen, in this way. And I can show you the cap without the pen, I can show you the pen without the cap. So I can say there are two things here. Yes, they appear together. But I can show them, experience them separately. Hence you can say that they can exist separately. In a very crude way I'm saying this. But when I say table and wood, this table, that one, there, wood and table, I'm using two words which have different meanings. Yet can I show the table, the lectern apart from the wood? No, I cannot. Can I show the wave apart from the water? No, I cannot. Can I show the necklace, the bracelet, the golden ornament apart from the gold? Here is gold, here is the golden necklace. No, I cannot do that. Though I am using two words. Which means, if you cannot show them separately, they must be the same entity. It is the same gold, which has a name, which is a new form, which you call necklace, give a new name and a function. It is the same wood, which you make into a lectern, and the lectern is a particular form and a name and a function. Nama, Rupa, Vyavahara. But the material is the same thing. They are not two separate realities. The ornament is not a second reality apart from the gold. It is gold, there is no second reality, non-dual. Gold, an ornament, gold is non-dual. There is no second reality called necklace. The wood here is non-dual with respect to the table, because there is no second thing called table apart from the wood. The wood is non-dual with respect to the table. In the same way, we say Brahman and this world, you, the consciousness, and the object of consciousness. You, the consciousness, and the object of consciousness, you cannot show them separately. All the objects that have ever been experienced have been experienced by consciousness, by you, in your consciousness. So it's not two things. Here is the objective universe, here is consciousness. I can show the objective universe separately. It's actually, the term consciousness is involved in what I'm saying. When you say experience, showing, it means consciousness is already there. So you cannot have object apart from consciousness. An object is always, is something, you can define an object as that which is presented to consciousness. Yeah. In more philosophical language, if two things cannot be, one thing cannot be experienced apart from another thing, then that thing which cannot be experienced apart from the first thing, that thing must be an effect and the first thing must be a cause. Effect and cause. Cause in the sense of material cause. In Sanskrit, upadana karana, material cause. The wood is the material cause of which table is the effect. Water is the material cause of which wave is the effect. Gold is the material cause of which ornament is the effect. Consciousness is therefore the material cause of which the universe of objects is the effect. And the effect is not a second thing apart from the cause. Just as the ornament is not a second thing apart from the gold, the wave is not a second thing apart from the water. Another way of understanding this is if you count. If you go to the ocean and count the waves, if you ask how many waves are there, you say it's difficult to calculate, but let's say 1,000 waves. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1,000 maybe. And if you count water, 1,000, will you say 1,001 things, 1,000 waves and plus one more water? No, the moment you count water, you cannot count the waves separately because they are all water. You can't double count. Then it becomes all is water. If I say count water, then you say, oh, there's only one thing, water. And then the waves, they are non-dual. The water is non-dual. There is no second thing called a wave apart from the water. Let me repeat. There is no second thing called a wave apart from the water. The water is non-dual with respect to the waves. Let there be 10,000 waves. They are all appearances of one water. Let there be 1,000 different pieces of jewelry in Tiffany's. But they are all appearances of one gold. The gold, the jewelry is non-dual with respect to the gold. The gold is non-dual with respect to the ornaments. Similarly, consciousness is non-dual with respect to its objects, because those objects cannot be presented or experienced in the absence of consciousness. You cannot count. If I ask how many entities are there in this room, you'll count. There are 75 or 76 human beings, and there are so many tables and chairs and lights. You can give a whole list of many, many things and say how many entities are there apart from your consciousness. You can't count. You can't count because it has to be somehow brought into your awareness for you to count it at all. Apart from consciousness, a very powerful example is a dream example. In your dream, there are so many entities, so many people, so many things happening. And you are yourself there, your own body is there, you can see it. But when you wake up, then all the people, all the animals, all the entities, they are all nothing apart from you, the dreamer's mind. If I say count the entities in a dream, you can do a census and count so many things. But if I say from your perspective as the dreamer, how many things were there? All of it was nothing but my mind. You can't count mind plus a human being, an animal and a park and a star. No, they're all projections of my mind. Similarly, what is the relationship between the dreamer's mind and the dream objects is the relationship in the waking world of you, the consciousness, and the objects presented to consciousness. So it's not apart from consciousness. Consciousness real, objects appearance. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya. Brahman is real and the world of objects is an appearance. Appearance of what? Of Brahman. So that's what it means. Brahmevaham idam jagatya sakalam chinmatra vistaritam. I am Brahman. So this is the second Mahavakya. Remember the great sentence, I am Brahman? The second verse is based on this great sentence, I am Brahman. And then the entire world of objects, it's actually not separate from me. I alone appear as all these objects, just as I, the dreamer in my dreams, appear as all the objects in the dreams. So everything here, the body, the mind, and all these people, and all the objects that are in front of me, they are all projections of me, the consciousness, of I, the consciousness. How does this happen, if you ask? The answer is Maya. Sarvam chaitad avidyaya trigunaya ashesham maya kalpitam. So the Maya is introduced here. I'm not going to dilate on that. There's the extraordinary, inexplicable power of consciousness which enables it to project this entire universe. So Brahman, pure consciousness in association with Maya. What is Maya made of? Trigunaya, three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. I'm not going to go into the details. Sankhya philosophy, yoga philosophy talks about it. So this is all borrowed from Sankhya. Maya projects this entire universe. Out of what? What is the material which it projects? You, the consciousness. You are projected. The consciousness is projected as an object. The eternal is projected as the ever-changing. The blissful is projected as a bundle of pleasure and pain. The complete is projected as the incomplete, ever-seeking, never satisfied. So that is the role of Maya. Ashesham maya kalpitam. Without exception, everything here is projected by I, Brahman, in association with Maya. This, by the way, is the god of religion. Brahman plus Maya is the god of religion. What we just saw in the first verse, Sa evaham, I am she, the witness of the entire universe. That is the god of religion, according to Vedanta. Itham cha sarv yasya dridamati. So who has this firm conviction and that completely fixed in the ever blissful, ever pure Brahman, and I am that Brahman, who is stabilized in that, not confused. I begin to get it, Swami, but the moment the class is over, I'm getting confused. That is not dridamati. Drida means fixed, firm. That is adrida, unstable. So that is not enlightenment. You still have to work on it. But the one whose conviction is absolutely clear. One of our monks went to a great Advaita teacher in the Himalayas and asked him, so what is enlightenment? Manisha here means conviction. What is this non-dual conviction about non-duality? And this teacher told him, right now that you are this Swami, you are a man, this is not the product of thinking, understanding, it's an unquestioned acceptance. The day you have this much or even more unquestioned conviction that I am the witness consciousness, I am the one consciousness, the underlying reality of this universe, I am Brahman, then you are enlightened. That much clarity, unshakable, beyond question. Like the sun shining there doesn't require any argument. Look up, see, don't look at it directly. So one whose understanding is fixed here, dridhamati sukhatare nitye pare nirmale, let that person be a chandala or a noble Brahmin, that person is my guru. This is my conviction. Now the third verse is based on, very loosely based on Tattvamasi, that thou art. It talks of the stages of spiritual life. See, what are the stages of spiritual life? Very, very briefly, those are not mentioned here. Yeah. It talks of the stages of spiritual life. Let's put it this way. 4 stages. I'm writing them down, the original Sanskrit words. These are from Vichar Sagara. Pamara, Vishayi. I'll explain. Sadhaka and Siddha. Siddha is the perfected one. Sadhaka is the spiritual seeker. Vishayi is the Vishayi literally means a worldly person, but it means not in a bad sense. It's the backbone of society, basically a decent person in the world today. Vishaya literally means the seeker of objects. Vishaya means object of consciousness, who wants. I want money and pleasure and success and fame and learning, all of that. A man of the world, but a good person. And the Pamara is the person who leads an instinctive, uncultured, Pamara literally means uncultured, crude, instinctive life. Now, what does this Pamara want? The 4 goals of human life. Moksha, dharma, artha, kama. Kama means pleasure, sensuous pleasure. Artha means all sorts of worldly success, wealth and power and achievement and status. Literally it means wealth, artha. And dharma means morality, ethics, religion. So very briefly, there could be a person who just wants pleasure, who wants, say, to become rich and have a party, a blast all his life. Yeah. There could be such a person. There are many such people. But that kind of person, it leads to, ultimately, very soon it leads to trouble and I love that quote from Somerset Maugham, who says, if you single-mindedly chase pleasure, very soon you find nothing pleasing anymore. Little better than this person is, so this person, it could be, there's a whole range. Even a person who is, say, addicted to drugs, not even to wealth. If a person has no control over oneself, maybe alcoholic or addicted to drugs, that could be at the bottom of this scale of pamara. There could be a little more, a person who is addicted to success and power and wealth and does not care for morality, just so that the police don't catch me or the IRS don't catch me. That's also part of the spectrum of pamara. Little better than this, or much better than this, is the Vishayi, who also wants, by the way, pleasure and success in life, but on the basis of morality and ethics. This person thinks of himself or herself as a good person, as most of us do. We are good persons, we are decent persons, we are law-abiding. Not just because the police is going to catch us. It's because we think of ourselves as good and decent persons and to do the right thing. So most of society is made of such people. Otherwise society would collapse. So most people are good and decent persons, and they teach their children to be ethical and moral. So ethics and morality, they kick in at this level. Yes, you chase your goals of pleasure and success in the world, but on the basis of ethics and morality. What does this have to do with us? As we go further and further in this way of life, slowly one begins to see all those goals, pleasure, success, wealth, all of them are temporary. They come and go, and the satisfaction that they bring, that also comes and goes. There's a limit to it. We may think unquestionably, especially when a person is a teenager or a young person, if I get this kind of a job, I'll really, really be happy. If I get that degree, I'll really, really be happy. And I get that relationship, I really, really will be happy. Not, somewhere deep inside we know that's not true, but it drives us to that. And then experience shows us that it is all transient, it is all limited. So he says, Shashvan Nashwarameva Vishwamakhilam, the entire universe, whatever it can produce, whatever it can provide, is transient, impermanent, anityam, momentary. Nashwaram means destructible. Shashvan, continuously destructible. Not that after some time it will become insipid. Whatever we are achieving and experiencing, moment to moment, it is slipping away from our life, our hands. Even the word Jagat, Jagat means Gachatiti Jagat. That which goes is Jagat. Now, Jagat is the word used for the world in Sanskrit. Gachatiti Jagat, that which is continuously slipping out of our hands, is the word. The word for body in Sanskrit, Shariram. Sharira means body. But if you etymologically derive it in Sanskrit, Shiryate, that which ages, decays, sickens and dies. That's the body. So happy definition of the body. Shiryateti shariram. So very quickly we realize that there is no satisfaction to be had in this cycle. Even in an ethical way. Unethical way, suffering comes much faster. The blows, kicks and blows come much faster. Ethical way, it's a sustainable life. It can go on for this lifetime, lifetime after lifetime. Lead an ethical life, a moral life. You'll have a good life, this more or less. And after death, we go to heaven and have a nice time there, but it'll come back again. And so this goes on. We see that is also perishable. Is there something higher? Is there something greater? And Nishchitya Gurur Vacha. You go to the spiritual teachers, come to the Vedanta retreat in the spirit in the desert. Every religion kicks in at that moment with the highest teaching. There is something beyond worldly achievements, even ethics and morality. There is the world of the spirit, of God, of soul, the immortal soul. And Advaita Vedanta says there is an ultimate reality, which, if you realize it, then it will truly, truly satisfy, fulfill you. True satisfaction is possible. Completely overcoming suffering is possible, but not in these ways. You have to become a spiritual seeker. So the spiritual seeker now goes to the Guru, and by the Guru's teachings starts a course of spiritual practice. And spiritual practice, let me just give you an outline. Or maybe later on. I'll give you the outline because we don't have time. When the Q&A comes, I'll give you an outline of spiritual practice. There is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, all of that comes at this level. And after this spiritual practice, you come to the final, the highest practice, which is to dwell on this knowledge of Brahman, which we are getting through Manisha Panchakam and all the other texts. It says, Nityam Brahma Nirantaram Vimrishata. Continuously dwelling on, Vimrishata means dwelling on, cogitating on, thinking about the eternal Brahman. In contrast with the continuously perishing world. Shashwan Nashwaram Vishwam Akhilam. Entire universe continuously perishing, transient, going away, moment to moment, anityam. Compared to that, Nityam Brahma, the eternal Brahman, dwelling on that. How do you dwell on that? That's part of the spiritual practice. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana means you hear these teachings, Manana means you think about it, get conviction, get your doubts answered, and Nididhyasana means meditate upon it. That's the meaning of the second line. Eternal Brahman, continuously meditating upon that. How? Nirvyaja Shantatmana. Here Atma means mind. The spiritual seeker needs a mind which has two qualities. Nirvyaja means pure. Pure. Simplicity. It literally means not crooked. So the vasanas, the desires, the tendencies which push us out into the world, I want this, I want this, I want this, that is calmed down, that is cleansed inside. That is called Chitta Shuddhi, purity of mind. How that happens, we'll discuss later, and I hope in the quick Q&A it will come up. That is one aspect of the seeker's mind, nirvyaja. The second aspect is serene, tranquil, concentrated, focused, shantatma. Focused mind. Pure mind, focused mind. This is what defines a spiritual seeker. You see, all the problems we will have, and guaranteed to have, on the path of knowledge, they do not stem from the path of knowledge. They stem from our lack of preparedness for this path. What is the lack of preparedness? Why are we not prepared for this? The two problems. We do not have that simple mind, the pure mind, one, and we do not have that calm mind. These two are the sources of problem, you'll see. Nothing else. Then what happens? One realizes, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. And realizing that, then one becomes free of the law of karma. Quickly mention this and I'll bring it to an end. What is the law of karma? So he brings in so many things in this third verse. I'm doing it an injustice by rushing through it. The whole of spiritual life, basically he just indicates it in the third verse. Whole of spiritual life leading up to enlightenment. What is the law of karma? So dharma, what we know to be good, morality, ethics, we saw that earlier. Follow that, that leads to, I'll give the English, punyam, merit. And that leads to sukham, happiness. Adharma, if one is consciously naughty, deliberately naughty, that leads to papam, sin or demerit. That leads to dukkham. Sorrow. So dharma is moral action, and punyam is merit, and this is happiness. Immoral action, and this is demerit or sin, and this leads to sorrow. This is the law of karma. Do good, the results will be good for you. Good things will happen, things will go your way. You will get more artha and kama. Do bad, then the results will be, you put forth effort, nothing seems to go your way. Bad things keep happening to me. It's my past bad karma. So what is the moral of this? Be careful about karma, what we do in this world. So deliberately, consciously seek the moral, the right thing to do. Continuously, consistently keep doing it. and carefully avoid what we know already. Our conscience tells us it's not right. Easy to say this, difficult to do it. Swami Vivekananda put it very simply. Good, good, bad, bad. Good, good, bad, bad. And none escape the law. But whosoever wears a form, body, mind, wears the chain too. The chain is law of karma. All that we have done in past lives has come here. And then he says, then what good is Vedanta? If this is none escape the law. Now, what Vedanta does is far beyond name and form, that is body and mind, is Atman ever free, consciousness, existence, consciousness, place. It's always free from karma. Know thou art that. That's all that. You have to realize, I am that Brahman. That sets you free from the law of karma. So how Shankaracharya puts it here is very beautiful. Once you realize, I am that Atman, bhutam bhavi cha dushkritam pradahata sangvinmaye pavake. In this knowledge, the fire of knowledge, I am Brahman. In that fire of knowledge, all past accumulated karma and any new karma is burnt up. Is burnt up. All the accumulated karma of past lives is burnt up. But there is a portion of karma which has started giving results in this life, like an arrow in flight. You can't stop it. It has started giving results in the form of this body and what's happening in this life. That will continue until this body falls, until this body dies. So he says, prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapu. And this particular body, I give it unto the sway of past karma, the prarabdha karma, the particular part of karma which is activated and giving results now. That will continue until this body dies. This is how the enlightened one lives. Swami Vivekananda puts it very beautifully. Take no heed of how it lives or dies. Its task is done. Let karma float it down. Float what down? This body. Let karma float it down. That is Swami Vivekananda's words. Shankara's words are prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapu. Swavapu means this body, one's body, the enlightened person's body. Prarabdhaya, that portion of karma which has started giving results in this life. Samarpitam, let it float it down. I remain as the witness of the play of karma in this particular body. So that is the meaning of the third verse. Just this indication, nishchitya vacha guru, having determined from the words of the Guru. That's what indicates. What are the words of the Guru? The Guru teaches ultimately many things, but ultimately the Guru's instruction is that thou art, tattvamasi. So that's why he's saying that tattvamasi is the Mahavakya for this third verse. Alright. We have seen so far verses 1, 2 and 3. They are built on the three Mahavakyas, the first three of the Mahavakyas, the great sentences. This very consciousness is Brahman, or this awareness is Brahman, Prajnanam Brahma from the Rig Veda. That was the first verse. The second verse is built upon the Mahavakya, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yajur Veda. The third one is, it alludes to, let us say, Tattvamasi, that thou art, which is the Mahavakya, the great sentence from the Chandogya Upanishad, the Sama Veda. And now, the fourth one, the last of the Mahavakyas is, Ayam Atma Brahma, this very self is Brahman. If you look at the fourth verse, it goes like this, Ya tiriyang nara devatabhir ahamityanta sphuta grihyate yad bhasa hridayakshadeha vishaya bhanti swato achetana. The first two lines, that which in all beings, tiriyang means snakes or lizards or, our sidewinders here, animals, all sorts of the lower animals, to human beings. Nara means human beings, Devata means the gods, that is gods with small g, not the capital G, the gods in the heavens. In all of them, that means in inferior bodies and minds, in middling bodies, so we are not superior bodies and minds, we are sort of in between, middle of the range. And the really upper range, the very high class bodies and minds of the gods and the goddesses in the heavens, You understand the difference between the God with capital G and small g, because in the Hindu pantheon there are these gods, Devata. Devata means a shining being. Div word comes from, it means shining. So Devatas are like us. They are not God. They are higher beings in the sense, they are jivas like us, sentient beings, who have got better bodies and minds because of very good karma. So we live in projects or slums maybe, and they live in the Upper East on Fifth Avenue or something like that. So, but they are beings. They're just sentient beings, jivas like us. But in all of them, whatever, no matter what the body-mind complex, there is an inner feeling of consciousness. Everybody, all of them are aware inwardly. All of us. That awareness which expresses itself as I, the vertical I, not the. So in all beings, aham, I am. So in all beings, this feeling is very clear in all beings, I am. And notice, this I am, we say I am, and then I say I am Sarvapriyananda, I am a monk, I am Indian, I am a man, I am a woman. All that plus this I am plus attributes. But if you just take the I am in itself, the I am feeling in itself, we all have it. Sometimes it's expressed how? When we use it or when we look inside, we feel, yes, I am. Sometimes we don't pay attention to it, but a background I amness is always there. Whenever you are awake or whenever we are dreaming also, I am. In deep sleep, it's not expressed, but it's there as the witness of the deep sleep. So I am, and of course, I'm saying I am in English. He says aham, ahamiti, that is in Sanskrit. And in animals or the sidewinder out there, it neither speaks English or Sanskrit, but that doesn't matter. It's not language which is important. That feeling is there. Every creature has, even in the most primitive sense, has a sense of self, right? I am here, and that is what I have to bite. that's so. This is what the rattlesnake feels. Then you better watch out. But that I and that, this difference is even for a little creature like say a protozoa or something, microscopic creature. I am, it cannot think. It has no developed mental capacity for thinking. And yet there is a basal sense of self, because self and the other, that is food. I must put forward an amoeba, we all learned in school, put forward what is called a pseudopods, and grab that thing and build it and bring it within this. All this thinking, I'm not saying it does, but it behaves that way. So I am is present in all beings, from animals to human beings to the gods, entire range of living beings. But look at the I am itself. The attributes can be anything. You see all the attributes we add to it. And it keeps changing. The I am is constant. And if you look at the I am, it has two distinct or two aspects, I and the am. And the I is the consciousness aspect, chit. And am is the existence aspect. Is it not so? This is sat. So this existence consciousness, I am, and not just am, I shine with awareness, with a sense of self, at the very minimum, a sense of self. And the more higher you are, the more attributes you can add to yourself. I'm happy, glorious, or miserable and depressed and terrible. But these are all attributes. Under them, the I am is neutral. Swami Vivekananda put it this way, that existence first, and then we color it with good or bad. Things are nice, things are miserable, I am a good person or I am a sinner, all that comes later. But that I amness is primary. So he says, Shankaracharya says, in all beings, that which is putagrihate, which is distinctly, undeniably available in all beings internally, as that I amness. That very I amness is in each of us, by its light, by the light of that, yad bhasa hridayakshadeha vishaya bhanti swato achetana. In each of us, that I amness lights up what? First, mind. Hridaya here means mind. Antakarana. Literally it means the buddhi, the innermost aspect of the mind. First, the mind is lit up. You become aware of thoughts, feelings. What happens when you wake up from deep sleep? When we wake up, suddenly, first we become aware of an internal environment. Where am I? Is it morning, afternoon? What's happening? Then you open your eyes and look around. What happened? First, the mind is lit up. The mind is revealed to you, the awareness. Then the senses become lit up. They become conscious, or they borrow consciousness. And then Vishaya, the objects, sights, sounds, smell, taste, touch. So look, Hridaya means the inner instrument, or the buddhi or mind. Then Aksha means sense organs, the 5 sense organs. Then Deha means the body. The body feels, I am this then. And then finally Vishaya. Vishaya means objects, sight, sense, taste, smell, touch. They all become lit up. Bhanti, they shine. Swato achetana, though they are inert in themselves. We'll talk about it. But here I want to bring to your attention one thing. If you put these 2 sentences together, what did they say to 2 lines? The second one says, that consciousness within each of us, which lights up here, which lights up my mind first, and then the sense organs, and then the body, and then the objective universe, from inside out. It is the same consciousness in all beings, from animals to human beings to the gods. By saying this, what he has done is, he has illustrated this Mahavakya. Ayam Atma Brahma. Here Brahma means Brahman, not the Brahma, that's a different one. Brahma. Ayam Atma Brahma. This very self is Brahman. The Ayam means this, Atma means self, Brahman means Brahman. The 2 lines which we just read, the second line talks about this self. What is this self? This consciousness in each of us. This consciousness. Which consciousness? The one which lights up my mind. Here, which I can point to. Here I am, shining on the mind, and through the mind shining on the sense organs, and through the mind and sense organs revealing this body, through this lit up body. Do you follow what I mean by lit up body? No? Yes. What? Awake, yes. This awake, alert body. What do? I experience an objective universe. This self here, that's the second line, is the same self in all beings, from animals to human beings to the gods. That one consciousness which is in all beings, you can call it this cosmic consciousness, that is Brahman. And this one consciousness which is inside us, that is Atman. And these 2 sentences, what have they done? They've said it's the same thing. That which is Brahman, the consciousness in all beings, in all of you here, and everybody in the world, down to from the rattlesnake up to the gods in the heavens. That one consciousness running through, in and through all beings like a golden thread. That one consciousness is experienced right here as lighting up my mind and senses and body and the external world in each of us. So these 2 sentences have expressed the meaning of the Mahavakya. Ayam Atma Brahma. This very self is Brahman. Alright. Now the thing I want to concentrate on is the second line. Yad Bhasa. By which light? Which light? This I amness. This is the light. This I amness. By which light the mind or the buddhi, the senses, the body, and all external objects shine, though they are inert in themselves. Swato achetana, though they are inert in themselves. What does it mean? It's something we should see. Shankaracharya has packed so much into this. So this is Vedantic epistemology. Epistemology means the branch of philosophy dealing with knowledge. How do we know? Philosophy has multiple branches. Ontology. Ontology deals with being, what is real. It's a branch of philosophy dealing with what is real. Ontos means being. What is real? Episteme means knowledge or knowing. How do we know? We can say so many things. Brahman is the ultimate reality of the universe. You can ask, how do you know? Yeah. There's a very nice lunch waiting for us after the Q&A. How do you know? Oh, I saw the menu. I didn't, but anyway. So I would have to justify, give an answer. That is epistemology. You're asking an epistemological question. What's there for lunch? You're asking an ontological question. What is real? What's there? The object. How do you know? This is epistemological. Is it good? That is axiological, values. What is nice and aesthetic and beautiful. So these are the three branches of philosophy. Ontology, epistemology and axiology. They used to be called at one time metaphysics. They used to be called aesthetics. But they have all been classified now under these three. So the Vedantic epistemology. How do we know anything at all? So there is consciousness. Atman, Brahman, Samvit, pure consciousness, whatever you call it. The big C. And now it shines upon, it says, Hridaya Aksha Deha Vishaya. So Hridaya means the mind. This is the mind. In a very general sense, I'm calling it the mind. And it shines on the mind. There is an awareness in the mind. We call it the reflected consciousness. And this consciousness, the mind now lit up by consciousness, proceeds further to light up the five senses. The five senses. And all of this is, of course, happening in the body, the senses. And all this is happening in the body. And then, with these senses, we experience, say, Arizona, where the external sun is shining. So this is the objective universe. Object. Body. Now what I have done in this is I have just illustrated the second line. Yad bhasa, by whose light? Whose light? By the light of consciousness. Hridaya. Hridaya means the internal instrument, mind, technically antakarana, mana, buddhi, chitta, hankara. More precisely the buddhi itself. But let's just say the mind, what you feel inside. The mind is lit up by the light of this consciousness. And this lit up means aware, conscious mind. Mind has the capacity to borrow consciousness. So mind feels conscious now. This consciousness in the mind, there's a technical term for it called chidabhasa. Chidabhasa means reflected consciousness. What's it like? A very good example would be, there is the light of the sun outside. Suppose this room were dark. I could take a shiny plate, maybe a dish, and then reflect the sun and shine the reflected light into the room. So you would have a beam of reflected sunlight coming into the room and reflecting and illuminating things here. Just like that, the mind functions like that shiny disk. It takes the light of consciousness. Another example is the moon at night. By the light of the moon, we see the world at night. But really, the moon has no light. Moon has no light. It's not luminous. It's just reflecting the light of the sun. The moon borrows light from the sun and shines it upon the world at night and reveals things to us. Similarly, the mind is like the moon and consciousness is like the sun. Consciousness shining upon the mind becomes lit up, and then the mind transfers or shines this consciousness upon the five senses, which also feel conscious now. When you see, you feel conscious. It's a conscious act. You touch, it feels like an alive, conscious act. You smell, taste. And these five senses reveal the body to you. Interesting. The body is revealed to us by our senses. Is it not so? If I were paralyzed, if I were numb, anesthetized, I wouldn't even feel the body. So the body is revealed by the senses. I see the body. I smell, taste, even touch. Touch is most important. Internal touch, a sense of a sensation inside. I feel the existence of the body. These are all senses. The sense organs reveal the body. And with the body, the mind, senses and the body together, with the borrowed light of consciousness, reveal the world, Vishaya. The point he makes here is, all of these, starting from here onwards, the world is revealed by what? You say, the world is revealed by Swami, all these lights, what are they doing? They're revealing the world, the sun. But yes, these lights cannot reveal the world unless your eyes are open and seeing. You cannot see anything unless your eyes are open. So your senses are revealing this world. But the senses cannot function unless the mind is lit up. If you're completely asleep, some people have perfected the art of sleeping with eyes open. Eyes are open, they don't see anything. So the mind must be conscious behind the senses. Then only the conscious mind with the conscious senses experience the body, and through the body, now the body feels conscious. Consciousness spreads as it were, to the tips of my fingernails. The whole body feels conscious. Wherever the nervous system is functioning, there the body feels conscious. With this conscious body, I experience a world of objects. I see things, smell, taste, touch things, and then I can think about things also. He says, all of them, swato achetana. The world is insentient, it's not conscious. The world doesn't reveal itself to you. You reveal the world. Even the light which lights up things, the light cannot reveal itself unless you see it. And the senses cannot reveal anything unless the mind is connected to the senses. The mind shines upon the senses. And the mind is also insentient. At this point, this is an insight which modern consciousness studies has not yet come upon. The mind is also insentient. What is the mind? Thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions. They are not sentient. They are not aware. You are aware of them. Then simple experiment. When I think a thought, 2 plus 2, 4. When I think a thought, 2 plus 2, 4. Just do it right now. 2 plus 2, 4. Now note, are you aware of 2 plus 2, 4, or is 2 plus 2, 4 aware of you? Does it say, hello, how's the retreat going? That would freak you out. You see, that's a very simple question, Swami. It is very simple. I mean, it's clearly I am aware. It's a thought in the mind, which I am aware of. The thought is not aware of me or anything else. It's an object. It's a thing just like this. You are aware of this. This is not aware of you. So all thoughts are also insentient. The mind is insentient. But what happens? What noted the 2 plus 2, 4? It is this reflected consciousness. This reflected consciousness in the mind right now, it lit up that thought, 2 plus 2, 4. And you are aware of it. Okay. What are you in this picture? You are consciousness shining upon a mind, identified with the mind, feeling yourself as an aware mind associated with senses and a body, feeling yourself as this conscious body-mind complex. Conscious body-mind complex. Now, here is the important thing to note. In this picture, nothing is new. Nothing is new, nothing is unknown to us at this moment, except this one. This part of it, the objective universe, we know it. Body, we know it. The senses, we know it. The mind, we know it. And even the awareness in the mind. If you try, you just feel, yeah, I'm an aware being. All this is known. But the most important fact, this one, is hidden from us. Advaita Vedanta. Practically what has happened is, this one being hidden in itself has become mixed up. Looking intensely into a microscope. What's the microscope? This one. This body-mind system. We have become so focused on the microscope, and through that we see this world. We have lost sight that we are actually there. Apart from the microscope, looking into it, we are actually there, we have forgotten. All we are aware of is the microscope and what it reveals to us. So you, the vast unlimited consciousness, shining through this one microscope of mind, senses, body, you have become entranced with the world outside, aware of the body, and sort of minimally introspective about the mind. I'm unhappy, let's go and have fun. That much. And totally unaware of this dimension. This is what Advaita Vedanta claims. Advaita Vedanta claims you are actually not a compound, actually not a mixture of consciousness plus mind, plus reflected consciousness, and the senses and the body. No, no, no. It says you are not the body, you are not the senses, You are not the mind, not even the reflected consciousness in the mind. You are this. This is Brahman, not all of this. These are all projections. They have no existence apart from this. This is a sort of analytic diagram. A correct diagram would actually, consciousness would encompass all of it. It is in consciousness all of these things are appearing. So this is what is being said here. How does knowledge take place? Knowledge takes place like this. So for example, when we see something, so there is this cactus. So light falls on the cactus, reflects back to our eyes. From the eyes it proceeds to, through its physiology, proceeds to the mind. In the mind there is a vritti. Vritti means a movement, a thought, a perception. A vritti, cactus vishayaka vritti. Not that there's a little cactus in the mind, it's a thought. But it's a thought whose content is the cactus. It's about the cactus. And that thought is lit up by the reflected consciousness in the mind, chidabhasa. And we say, I see a cactus. So this is how knowledge takes place. Whether you're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or even thinking in the mind, thinking, remembering, desiring, hating, loving, all of that, all knowledge takes place in this way. It is basically the reflected consciousness which functions. It's like the moon at night. But remember, even the reflected consciousness is nothing without the real consciousness. Without the sun, the moon would go dark immediately. There would be no light at all. What are you? We normally think, I. When I say I, we talk about this complex, body-mind complex. I. It refers to this. What Vedanta is telling you to do is trying to teach us to shift the reference of the I back to consciousness. I am body, I am mind, I am the body-mind complex. Vedanta is saying, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. What the first line said was, not only this consciousness lights up your mind and intellect and the senses and the body, and through that the world, but it also lights up every other body in this universe. All other human beings, all animals, gods, whatever they are all lit up by that. Incidentally, one more thing. What differentiates a living being like me from a non-living being? I can't say like the cactus because cactus is also a living being. So like a rock maybe, or the table. What differentiates? In this living body, there is this subtle body, this one. Technically, the pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, beyond that dhyanandamaya, but the three. Sukshma Sharira or the Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya Kosha, the three koshas. This is what distinguishes a living body from a non-living body. This subtle body. You say, isn't it theoretical subtle body? Of course not. Don't you think? If you are thinking, what is that? What is that? Tell me. No doctor, no scientist can tell you what that is. All scientists will stop here. Isn't it? At the most, the scientist can tell you there is some functioning in the brain going on and somehow that is connected to your thoughts. Directly, what is a thought? Nobody knows. So this thinking, it's part of the mind. The mind is part of the subtle body. The mind, the intellect, the memory, the ego is called antakarana, inner instrument, plus the entire prana system. So all of that is called subtle body, sukshma sharira. Incidentally again, what happens at death? What dies? This one dies. The physical body. The physical body dies, clearly. It is buried or burnt, it's gone. But this one, not only Vedanta, all religions of the world, Vedanta has got very clear classification, but all religions of the world will say the subtle body goes on. Every religion of the world. The subtle body goes on, sukshma sharira. That is one which goes on to other lives. The Abrahamic religions will say that it persists, the immortal soul persists, and for eternity afterwards, heaven, hell, whatever. Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, they will say it goes on to other lives. This one will go on to other bodies, carrying with it the unique impressions, samskaras, vasanas, and associated karma of each individual. So we all continue life after life after life. What about this consciousness? It's constant. Does it go from a body to body? No, it is constant, it's infinite. In fact, all bodies appear and disappear in it. And enlightenment is when I realize I am this consciousness and I have no further need of this body-mind complex. This will continue for some time. We saw in the third verse, prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapu. There is a karma which has generated this body. As long as this body lasts, this subtle body also will last. Along with that, when this body dies, for the enlightened person, this subtle body disappears. It goes back to nature. Just as the physical body goes back to nature. Physical body is made of the 5 elements. At death, for everybody it goes back to nature. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, it goes back to nature. But for the unenlightened, the subtle body continues, life after life. So their individuality is maintained life after life. At enlightenment, the subtle body goes back to nature. That's also made of matter. It's matter. It's only subtle matter. Sukshma tanmatra, it is said. It goes back to nature. Upanishads speak of it. And you remain, the enlightened one remains as Brahman. Alright, so this is incidental. Now let us go ahead. Then what happens? Tam bhasyai pihitarka mandala nibham spurtim sada bhavayan. Here is an indication of nididhyasana. Once you have made the breakthrough, once this is very clear, the enlightened one spends some time absorbing, assimilating this knowledge. This shifting of the I, the reference of the I from the body-mind complex to this pure consciousness. And the body-mind is still there. It still works, it does whatever it has to do. Now it says something interesting. The activities of the body-mind, the body, the senses and the mind, the thoughts in the mind, the actions of the senses. What are the senses doing? Continuously gathering information and dumping it in the mind. True or not? Information dump. Lot of information is coming through the eyes. Lot of information is coming through the ears and touch and taste. And it's being continuously dumped in the mind. And as a result of that, what happens is, this continuous activity of the body and mind seem to hide the sun of consciousness. I am that infinite awareness. This is obscured. Obscured by what? By the activities of the mind and the senses and the body, which are lit up by that very same consciousness. So I lose track. I lose awareness of awareness. I'm so busy seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, much more than that. Thinking, living in my head, thinking, anxiety, temptation, desire, restlessness, body restlessness, sensory restlessness, mental restlessness. This is like a cloud which obscures the orb of the sun. Like a cloud which seems, you see, there's a sun, but you can't see it. Why? Because the cloud has come. It's not that the cloud can obscure the sun. How can a cloud, little patch of cloud, obscure this vast sun, which is bigger than the earth itself, much bigger? What it does is, it obscures our vision of the sun. It comes between my eyes and the sun, and it seems that the sun is hidden. But only, the operative word is as if. Note something. Even the sun, even the cloud which seems to hide the sun, I can see the cloud by what light? Sunlight. It is the sun which reveals the cloud which seems to be obscuring the sun. Without the sunlight, I cannot see the cloud. If I know what sunlight is, if I know what is the sun, I will not think that the sun has disappeared. The very fact that I can see the clouds means the sun is right there behind the clouds. Similarly, all the activities, for the ignorant person, all the activities of the senses and the body and the mind, they seem to hide the inner self, pure consciousness. That's why the Kathopanishad says, our senses are turned outwards, therefore we see the world and not the inner self. Beautiful verse, Kathopanishad. Paranchikhani dyatrinat swayambhu tasmat param pashyati nantaratman. Our senses are turned outwards, and therefore, the Lord designed. In fact, the language is humorous. The Lord made a manufacturing defect. Dyatrinat, damaged our senses. Manufacturing defect. What? It sees out. We experience the body. The mind experiences the senses outwards. The senses experience the body, and the body lit up by senses and the mind experiences the external world. Out, 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 moving out. Nantaratman does not experience the inner self, the infinite consciousness blazing within. Does not. Normally. Then what is to be done? Kaschid dhira pratyagatmanam aikshat. Some rare spiritual seeker like you experienced the inner self. Experienced or realized the inner self. How? What's the method? Avritta chakshur. Literally means covering the eyes, but it means turning inwards. So calming the external, the outward flow of the senses and the mind, turning inwards. Why would you do that? Amritatvam icchan, desiring immortality. Desiring immortality. What's the point? The point is escaping from or releasing yourself from the bondage of birth and death, the cycle of birth and death, and suffering, trying to get satisfaction in the external world, which is not there. Finding fulfillment in the reality within. So that's the whole spiritual quest. The point to be noted here is the yogic approach and the Vedantic approach. What is the yogic approach and the Vedantic approach? The yogi says, it is the outward movement of the senses and the mind which is obscuring the self within. Then what should I do? Quieten. Calm down. Serene, quiet mind, then the inner self will reveal itself. So that is the second sutra, third sutra and fourth sutra of Yoga Sutras. Second sutra, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the complete cessation of the modifications of the mind. What is modification of the mind? Here, cactus thought. No cactus thought. Close your eyes. So, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. These are vrittis. Vrittis means modifications of the mind. All thoughts, all perceptions, all feelings, they are all vrittis. Calm, calm, quiet, quiet. Stop the mind. What will happen? Why? What good is that? Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Then the witness consciousness is appreciated or seen in its real nature. That beyond the mind, that shines forth, or should at least. If I don't calm down the mind, what will happen? Then what happens is that witness consciousness is mixed up with the movements of the mind. The sun is obscured by the clouds. The clouds are the movements of the mind. So, vritti sarupyam itaratra. If you do not calm down the mind, then the consciousness becomes identified with the movements of the mind. Anger, I am angry. Remember that I am now immediately becomes associated with anger. Bored, I am bored. I am pure consciousness? No, I am bored. Bored, vritti in the mind. The mind feels bored. There's a feeling of boredom here. And I have forgotten myself. I say, I am bored here. This I becomes related to this. That is the yogic approach. The yogic approach is the mind has to be quietened in meditation. Absolute quiet. Samadhi. Samadhi. What is the Vedantic approach? Remember, there is another way of seeing the sun. Even when the sun appears to be covered by the clouds, you still know that the sun is there because you know what the sun is. So even the clouds which are shining in the light of the sun, they are also revealing the sun. True or not? You are not worried, anxious, oh my God, the sun is gone, there are only clouds. No, how do you see the clouds? Similarly, the Vedantin says, even when the mind is functioning, even when you are thinking, feeling, willing, even when you are seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, all of them are lit up by what? By consciousness. Tam bhasye, by that consciousness. Pihitarka mandala nibham, by that consciousness lit up, but like the sun being covered, as if covered by a cloud. That consciousness, which is present in every movement of the mind, which is revealed in every perception, which is revealed in anything that we do. Spurtim sada bhavayan, always dwelling on that. It's a very deep thing. It's an indication of nididhyasana, Vedantic nididhyasana. How you can practice this in every activity of life. If you want to practice yogic samadhi, you must stop those activities. You must sit down. Ashtanga yoga demands that one must sit quietly. Then one must close one's senses and turn inwards. Asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Withdraw from the world. concentrate inwards, calm down, can't think, obviously can't see, smell, taste, touch, hear, can't walk around, jump around, do nothing. Then only it is revealed in samadhi. That's the yogic approach. Correct. The Vedantic approach is anything that you need to do, walk, talk, think, fight, whatever. Even they say in Japanese, in the martial arts, Japanese martial arts, there's one of the ways to enlightenment is throwing a punch at the other guy. That guy might not be enlightened, but no, but it's true. In Japanese martial arts, especially things like Aikido, Kyudo, the jutsu arts are actually fighting arts. Jujutsu is a fighting art, but it is transformed into judo. Do means the way. So when it's transformed into the way, it becomes a path for spiritual development. It's no longer for punching somebody. You can still punch somebody and very effectively, but the point is your own spiritual development. Aikijutsu becomes Aikido. Kenjutsu becomes, we have sword fighting, becomes Kendo. And the purpose there, of course, physical exercise and all of that, but is actually inner development, spiritual development. So in all activities, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, Brahmagno Brahmanahutam, Brahmeva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. The one who sees Brahman in all action. That means not stopping action, in all action. Even in eating, you see Brahman. See Brahman means you become aware, just like when you're just seeing the cloud, but you are aware that's the light of the sun lighting up the cloud. Similarly, in all activities, it is only in the light of consciousness that all these activities are known and done. Alright, I will not belabor the point. Ever contemplating on this, Sada Bhavayam, this is Vedantic Nididhyasan. Vedantic Nididhyasan, can it be done quietly sitting with eyes closed like yogic meditation? Certainly, of course. But also with eyes open. With eyes closed, with eyes open. Will consciousness disappear if your eyes are open? Of course not. If your eyes are open, other way around might be, your eyes are closed too much, then sleep. Even then consciousness is there, but just revealing sleepy mind. But with eyes open, consciousness is there. It's, you know what it's like? It's something like, what do you see here? Book. But actually what you're seeing is the light reflected from the book. What enters into your eyes is the light. Book is not entering your eyes, otherwise 911. Only the light. Whatever you're seeing, the book, light only. Pen, light only. Cloth, light only. Only thing that enters your eyes is the light, is reflected light. It carries information, what kind of thing is reflected from. In the same way, so if you become aware, this requires awareness. Light is only coming to our eyes. In that way, if you become aware, in every activity, in every experience, Brahman alone is revealed. I, the consciousness, in every experience, whether I am eating, talking, walking. Kena Upanishad says, the one who sees, recognizes Brahman in every experience, that one attains immortality. Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hivindate. In every bodha, every experience. What experience? Not samadhi. Including samadhi. Every experience. Viditam, one who realizes, this is Brahman, I am Brahman. So that is the background awareness. That one attains immortality. Amritatvam hivindate. Then the last verse, you might say that, the last line of this verse, Yogi nirvrita manaso hi guru rityesha manishamava. This yogi who forever contemplates in every action, every thought, that I am Brahman is revealed to this yogi. Nirvrita manasa is completely fulfilled. The mind is completely fulfilled. That which was not fulfilled by continuous focus on the world outside or dwelling in the mind itself. Some people love agonizing in the mind itself. Whether living outside or living in the mind, not fulfilled. That becomes completely fulfilled when the mind turns and recognizes what is beyond the mind, what is shining on the mind, my real self, who I am or what I am. Yogi nirvrita manasa. Such a yogi is my guru. Then the last verse. Yat saukhyam buddhileshaleshata ime shakradayo nirvrita yat chitte nitaram prashanta kalane labdhva munir nirvrita. You might have noticed that all the time we're talking about consciousness, 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 and once in a while about existence. What about Ananda, bliss? Satchidananda? Sat and Chit we have been talking about. Where is Ananda? Here it is finally. We are ultimately seeking not only transcendence of suffering, but also attainment of fulfillment, bliss, joy, the final fulfillment. So here it is. By a fraction of that infinite ocean of bliss, these gods, Ime Shakradaya, the gods, small g. Shakra means Indra, the king of the gods and other gods, the god of fire, Agni, the god of air, Vayu. There's a cyclone coming towards India, it's called Vayu. So the god of air, Vayu, and all of these gods, they are fulfilled, they enjoy a fraction of this infinite ocean of bliss, which is attained by this Muni. He says Muni means the knower, the Mananat Muni, the one who contemplates Brahman. That one attains the entire, this infinite ocean of bliss, which shines, yat chitte nitaram prashanta kalane, where completely the mind is calm and serene, free of movement. Yasmin nitya sukham bodho galitadi, one whose intellect is merged in, one who has become one with that infinite ocean of bliss. Brahmaiva na brahmavit. And that one is not a knower of Brahman. That one is Brahman. I really like that in Nisargadatta. I am that. He was once, people around him were praising him that you are a knower of Brahman. That's the highest praise. Brahmagyani. You are a knower of Brahman. It seems he was a rough person. There's a devotee in Hollywood, Radhakrishnan, who has actually seen Nisargadatta, who went to meet him. And so he was a very rough person. Nisargadatta was very an aggressive saint. So when they said, you are a knower of Brahman, Brahmagyani, knower of Brahman, he immediately snapped at them, you are insulting me. What? This is the highest praise we can give in our culture, that you are an enlightened person, you are equal to Buddha and all that, you are a knower of Brahman. He says, no, I am not a knower of Brahman, I am Brahman. The enlightened person, he will not say, I am an enlightened person. I am enlightened that I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi, I know that. No. I am Brahman. I am not a knower of Brahman. Even that attitude that I know Brahman, it's wrong. It reveals ignorance. I know Manisha Panchankara, I can say, but I am Brahman. The Kena Upanishad, there's a big section there where the Guru tests the disciple. It is neither known nor unknown. Having heard this teaching, so have you now known Brahman? It's a trick. If you say, I have known Brahman, but it cannot be known. If you say, I don't know Brahman, then your teaching has failed. You have flunked. Come back next year. What does the student do? Naham manye suvedeti no na vedeti vedacha. I don't think that I know Brahman. So you don't know. I know. And those among us who understand what I just said, that I know not Brahman, but I do know, they know. What does it mean? You don't know it as an object. What is knowing as an object? Now you can tell. Consciousness shining upon the mind, lighting up the mind lit up by this, lights up the five senses, and the five senses working through the body, we know an object. Here, this is a cactus, this is the desert, this is the sun, this is the sky, this is Arizona. No, I mean, it's more than that, but this is knowing as an object. You can never know Brahman like this, because it is behind every knowledge. What can Brahman be known as? That which is lighting up every knowledge. Whether it is cactus knowledge, or desert knowledge, or sun knowledge, or some 2 + 2, 4 in the mind, whatever your knowledge is, whatever you taste, smell, see, hear, all that is lit up by consciousness. That's the only way you know Brahman. Will you say Brahman is unknown? No. It's more than known. Swami Vivekananda said it's more than known. It is only through this consciousness that you know anything else. So Brahmavit, I am not a knower of Brahman. Brahmaiva, I am Brahman. That's the attitude of the enlightened person. Now, Ananda, very quickly, what is this whole business about? Bliss, joy. Just like, how do we know an object? How do we know anything in this world? How do we enjoy in this world? What is the Vedantic theory of happiness? Very quickly. What happens is this. Instead of saying consciousness, I'm going to say the big A, Ananda. This is bliss. And same thing, the mind and the senses, the body, and here is the world. Let's say now something that will give you bliss. Okay, ice cream cone. Senses, body, mind. Now what happens is, I have a desire. I see the ice cream cone. How do I see? Remember the earlier epistemology. This is the science of happiness. Vedantic science of happiness. So in the mind arises a desire for this. I see this and a vritti arises. I must have it. I want that. And because I want it, immediately the result is that I feel unhappy. Yes. See? I feel unhappy. So this disturbance in the mind, the moment I get it, I get this unhappiness changes into happiness. It's not a good way of it. Then becomes happy face, yeah. I get it. But this happiness, what happens is, the Ananda, which is Brahman, is reflected in the mind. When the desire for the ice cream is satisfied, the mind calms down, the vrittis calm down, the natural happiness, which is our self, Brahman, Ananda, that shines in the mind, and there is a feeling of happiness in the mind. It's like a mirror. If the mirror is obscured by dust, my face is not reflected properly in the mirror. Moment you clear the dust, my face will be reflected in the mirror. Right? Similarly, this natural happiness, our contentment, Brahman itself, which is limitless happiness, that should be reflected in the mind, but it gets obscured by the movements in the mind. Movements caused by desire. I want, I love, I hate, dissatisfied, the movements in the mind. The moment you get what you want, the movement in the mind, the vritti in the mind is calmed down, and the happiness inside is reflected there. And that's how we experience happiness. Notice one thing. What we experience as happiness is, according to Vedanta, a reflection of the real happiness within us. Just as the face you see is not your real face. I'm not saying you're two-faced. You have only one face and one reflected face in the mirror. The problem with the reflected face in the mirror is it's not your real face. Your real face is here. It's only a copy of your real face. And it depends on the mirror. Convex mirror, one type. Concave mirror, another type. Dirty mirror, one type. Platinum mirror, another type. All different reflections of one reality. So it depends on the mirror. It comes and goes with the mirror. With better mirror, better reflection, worse mirror, worse reflection, dirty mirror, no reflection, so on. The grades of reflection keep changing of the same constant reality. But the advantage of the mirror is you can actually see your face. Without the mirror, you cannot see your face. But does your face disappear if the mirror is not there? No, not at all. So this is the Vedanta, that's the good way of understanding how Vedanta sees happiness. What we ordinarily consider happiness is a reflection of our inner Ananda, a portion of it, fraction of it, whatever that little mirror of the mind can hold at that point. And then again what happens? Another desire arises, or fulfillment is there with the ice cream, and we move on to other things, and again the Ananda gets obscured. Our mistake is we think that the happiness is caused by the ice cream. And we have a reason to think that. When I did not have the ice cream, I was unhappy. When I had the ice cream, I was happy. So ice cream, conclusion, ice cream gives me happiness. Childish mind. instinctive mind thinks happiness is in the thing outside. More mature mind finds that, no, happiness is in me, but it is caused by things outside. So if things go the way I want it, people are nice to me, I get the things I want, my health is good, all of these things are okay, I will be happy. Things outside cause internal happiness. Happiness is internal, I agree, but the things outside are necessary. This is any mature person will think like this. Only a child or an instinctive person will think, no, it's outside. The story of the dog who chewed the dry bones, Sri Ramakrishna tells the story. It's an old Vedantic story. There was a dog who found an old bone and started chewing it. And then what happened was the bone cut its inner lip and little blood trickled out. And the dog thought, such a tasty bone. It's tasting its own blood. And now the dog thought, this bone is so tasty. So what it does is it buries the bone, and once in a while, once it wants to have enjoyment, it digs out the bone and chews it. And the blood comes out from within. And it tastes that and feels, oh, so such a tasty bone. Now the world, the objects of the world are like that bone to us. And the happiness that we get from that, we think it comes from that, but actually it comes from within. Up to this, okay? Now, let's go ahead. Science of Happiness 2. That was 1. 2. This is from the Taittiriya Upanishad. There's a section called Ananda Mimamsa. Ananda Mimamsa, calculus of happiness. Mimamsa means analysis. Yeah. The analysis of happiness, or let's say the calculus of happiness. What does it say? So now we have understood that happiness is internal, but it depends on getting the things which we want. So when we satisfy our desires, we are happy. That seems to be the general understanding of any thinking person. We have desires, satisfy them, you become happy. And then you get other desires and so on and so forth. So that's one track. That by satisfying desires, we get happiness. And there's another wiser person who says, if Vedanta is at all true, if the happiness is coming from within, if this is true, there are two ways of getting happiness. One is getting the ice cream, removing the desire for ice cream, so the natural happiness is manifested. One way, track one. Another is give up the desire for the ice cream. Doesn't matter what's there outside. This inner desire, if I give it up, renounce that desire, then automatically the inner happiness will manifest. Do you see? If this model is true at all, then why generate a desire, work hard to satisfy the desire, and then the desire subsides, and then my happiness will be manifest? Why not give up this particular desire, these desires? Our internal happiness should be manifest, should be. So one path is bhoga, enjoyment of things, trying to get happiness. The other path is yoga, giving up those desires and enjoying the happiness within. Two tracks. Track one, bhoga, samsari as happiness, track one. And track two, renunciation, spiritual life. This is worldly life and spiritual life. Both are after happiness. One tries to fulfill desires and get happiness. The other one tries to give up and concentrate within. Finds its happiness from spirituality. This is called Vishayananda, the joy of Vishaya, objects. Vishaya means objects. Vishaya Ananda. Easy to understand? Vishaya Ananda, the joy of objects. This is called Bhajanananda, the joy of spiritual practice. You get joy in meditation, joy in service, joy in love of God, joy in Vedanta, hopefully. I don't see. Good. I can see some smiles. Some joy is there. So Ramakrishna distinguishes the two, Vishayananda, Bhajanananda. Now the Taittiriya Upanishad says there is a whole range, a spectrum of happiness. The whole section is worth reading. The whole thing is about happiness. You'll have a smile all throughout when you read about it. It says, let's start at the bottom. If you want to measure happiness, you need a unit. In order to measure, you need a unit. So let's have, what is 1 unit of happiness? The way it defines one unit of happiness, one unit of human happiness. What's the maximum possible happiness that a human being can have? And the Upanishad paints such an amazing picture. If you read it, you'll get a big smile on your face. He says, the first thing the Upanishad says, unfortunately, I get a lot of boos when I say this. The Upanishad says the first thing you need to have is you need to be young. Yuva syat. Unfortunately, it's a fact. With advancing age, a lot of problems come which are not at all, they are naturally not there when you are young. If you do a lot of yoga and you eat gluten-free and you lead a healthy life, you can manage the decline. That's old age. And what a 21-year-old can do without doing any of that, can lead a most indisciplined life and still be much more healthy than with all the management that we are doing. So you are first of all young, body and mind young. Then adhyayaka, learned, not a dropout. So Ivy League, MBA, engineering, all the degrees, medicine has got all the degrees. So brilliant, highly educated, but also Prithvitasya vittasya purna syat, multi-billionaire. What do they call? Trust fund baby. So it's not that the person is young and talented and intelligent, has to spend 40 years to become rich. No. Starts off enormously rich. There's no end to the wealth that person has inherited. And on top of that, sadhu syat, a good person, a noble person, has got good intentions to do good to the world. Not just a dissolute person who will waste all the money and the opportunities. No. So young, and then it says vigorous, healthy. It uses 3 words. It says that ashishta, dridishta, balishta, who is physically strong, who is vigorous in the enjoyments of life. Whatever life can provide can not get exhausted by one meal and exhaust his stomach trouble. No. Multiple meals. So can really enjoy all the sense pleasures, all the intellectual pleasures, can understand, is interested in intellectual pleasures, in artistic pleasures, everything that life can provide, and has the means to do that, the desire to do that, and the body and the mind which is capable of doing that. That person, imagine the happiness of that person. Is it possible? Maybe in some sense, once in a generation a person like that comes, who's got everything in life. So rarely, but imagine that. And that's one unit of happiness. That's no more than that can be obtained in this human life. But the Vedas say, if you want more than that, there is a possibility. After death, there are higher heavens where you go. So there is a heaven of the Gandharvas, the celestial beings, where you can get 100 times this happiness. 100 times into 10 to the power 2 of that maximum human happiness. Wow, how do I get it? Not here, but after death. And you have to perform these Vedic rituals. Give me my cut of the commission, and we will set you up. After death, you will go there. And so they believed in these things. So they took it very seriously. And they go to these higher heavens. Now, what are these higher heavens? So notice, to enjoy anything, it is Vishayananda, you need 3 things. Body-mind complex, plus object, plus environment. Environment. In Sanskrit, Sharira Vishaya Loka. Sharira Vishaya Loka. The higher your enjoyment you want, you need a human body cannot enjoy that much. It will collapse. It will blow a fuse. If you try to maximize enjoyment to that level, 100 times of this, human body will collapse. You'll have to take it to the hospital, stroke. It can't enjoy. What you call drug overdose. So it will be like enjoyment overdose. So you need a better body. Superman, Spider-Man body, So those ideas were there in the Vedic times. Much more so, more than what you have in the superhero comics these days. Extraordinary bodies. The way I understand it this way, Gandharvas are supposed to be celestial musicians. They are only the lowest tier, the slum dwellers of heaven. And they are 100 times better than any kind of human happiness you can think of. What are they like? One way of understanding is, I was reading about these classical musicians, highly trained classical musicians. They actually don't need instruments. They can hear the music in their minds. And a very, I think who went deaf? Mozart? Beethoven? Beethoven. Beethoven went deaf. But he could hear and compose inside his mind. And at a rarefied, refined level far beyond what we can physically do with instruments in this world. Now that's something what a Gandharva is like, who dwells in that realm of extraordinary music, celestial musician. Can you imagine what kind of life that will be? And then, so they have extraordinary bodies, and what they enjoy, the objects, those objects are also extraordinary objects. In the Yama and Nachiketa conversation, Yama, we are eating into the question answer time? A little bit, doesn't matter, we will continue this. Yama, the Lord of Death, talks to that young boy and he tempts that boy Nachiketa. And he offers him, I will give you, don't ask me about what happens after death, don't ask me questions about Vedanta. I will give you pleasures which human beings in this world cannot enjoy. What he's talking about are these pleasures, which are not available to human enjoyment. And for all of that, you need an environment. Yes, we are here to study Vedanta, and here we are in Arizona, but we need this environment. The same cup of coffee, you take it in on a roadside halal cart in Manhattan, and you step inside the Waldorf Astoria or something. Same cup of coffee, but they will charge you 10 times or 100 times more inside. Why? They're charging you for environment. So loka, environment, the heavens, they are extraordinary environments, much better than this world. So 100 times. Now what's the point of all of this? It says that this person, track 2, just by renouncing that enjoyment and concentrating on his or her spiritual practices, can get that happiness, not after death, right here. That track 2, it says, Shrotpriyasya chakamahatasya, the one who does not have the desire, who can give up successfully the desire for sense enjoyments and focus on spirituality, will get that same peace and happiness which this person aspires to after death, 10 to the power 2, 100 times, maximum human happiness, will get it here in this life itself. So, this person can also get this person can also get this person also can get this here itself. But the approach is different. Remember, why does this work? Because if you give up the desire for that, what is this enjoyment after all? It is your own natural enjoyment, a particle of that. Is this the highest enjoyment possible? No, the Upanishad keeps on telling you, there is a higher than that. There is something called Deva Gandharva, 10 to the power 4. So that is 100 times. That means 10,000 times the earlier one. 100 times of this one. So 10,000 times the 10,000 times the happiness of this ordinary. You just think, by thinking about it, you may faint. And this person, the spiritual person, will get the same happiness here itself. See, is it really true? It is true. If you look at, one of the reasons which attracted me to spiritual life, to become a monk, was when I saw these people in the monastery. I said, these guys, they don't have bank balances, they don't have family and jobs and relatives like my dad and mom do, and yet they're happy. They're actually happier than my mom and dad. How? So they are on track 2, right? They don't want any of that. They are pursuing this one. So they get the same happiness. That's actually a proof that this Vedantic theory of happiness is true. That without the so-called external supports of happiness, you can get fulfillment within. And it goes on. There are higher gods, the Devatas, who get 10 to the power 6 and then 10 to the power 8. I calculated the last one, Brahma, Prajapati Brahma, it came to 10 to the power 20. That is 10 followed by 20, 1 followed by 20 zeros. I don't know how much that is. 10 to the power 20 of the maximum possible human happiness. The Upanishads promise you that, and if you give up that kind of happiness and concentrate on the reality within, through yoga, through bhakti, through devotion, through meditation, you will get the same happiness here, right now. Shrotriyasya cha kamahatasya. One who is firmly set in the Vedantic knowledge and gives up. If you do not give up the hankering for the world outside, what will happen? The vritti will come in the mind, obscure the inner natural happiness, and you will not feel happy until you get the object. So these are the two tracks, the worldly track and the spiritual life. And the strong recommendation is you go to this life. Maturity. Once one moves through this path, one may not consider all these things, but at least the world, this life which we have, one moves through this path and one must become mature enough that, all right, this I've seen enough of this. Now let me go to the retreat and try to learn something about spiritual happiness. Then the Upanishad says, all this is not yet Vedantic theory of happiness. This could be true of any path. A devotee, a Vaishnava path can also tell you this. A yogi will also tell you this. This is possible. What does Vedanta have to contribute here? The next sentence after describing this, Upanishad says something like a bombshell, dramatic. It says, the happiness of the man, the one happiness, Manushya Ananda, and the happiness of the highest happiness of the highest God in the highest heavens, 10 to the power 2, unimaginable. They are one and the same. Sa ekaha. It's one and the same. What is he saying? This is incredible. How can 1 be equal to 10 to the power 20? How? Because these happiness, this one, all of them, they are what? Let's go back to our diagram. All of these are the polishing of this mirror. Better and better reflections of the original happiness, of Ananda itself. But the Vedantin realizes whether it's the happiness of the human being here or the happiness of Brahma, and many times more, both are reflections of this one inner unlimited ocean of happiness, which I am. This Ananda I am. This realization comes. It does not matter what kind of mirror you put before me. Brahma, the highest God, has a very fine platinum mirror. The human being has a very ordinary, like a shaving mirror or something like that. But all that is being reflected is my original face. That I am. That realization comes through Vedanta. And it says, Yasmin Nitya Sukham Buddho, in which eternal ocean of bliss, Galitadhi, the intellect is merged, stabilized. I am that. And that Brahman, that infinite Anando Aham, I am that. Whatever Ananda, you get the bliss of eating an ice cream, you get the bliss of meditation, you get the bliss, whatever happiness you get is just a fraction of the infinite which is already within me. There's a beautiful Bengali song which goes like this. My Lord, they sit near the ocean of nectar and they die of thirst, scrambling in the dry sand there, never once looking behind. And they die of thirst, clawing the sand, the dry sand in front of them. Imagine a sea beach, never once looking behind into the ocean of nectar right behind them. And then the prayer is very beautiful. My Lord, even if they do not ask for it, do give them what is good for them. Even if they do not ask. Na chahite ho. I think Rajanikanta song. Yeah. All right. So this is the idea. You realize that infinite nature of that bliss. Notice, the Ananda, the Vishaya Ananda or Bhajan Ananda is subject to increase and decrease, more or less. But the Swarupa Ananda, the Ananda which is the source, you, it is not subject to increase and decrease. The Ananda of the external, the Ananda that is reflected in the mind, that is subject to either you have to satisfy the desires or you have to make spiritual effort. It is produced. But this one is not produced. It's infinite, always available. It is only reflected there. Notice this one more thing. The reflected Ananda which you see here, like the reflected face, you can see the face, you can actually experience that Ananda. This infinite Ananda is not an object of experience. This is what makes people feel disappointed. oh, this infinite Ananda is there and I can't experience it. You can experience it, but then it's like reflecting your face. It becomes an experienced Ananda. So this person who realizes oneself as Brahman does not get this Ananda? Does. It's like you realize yourself as that face. Do you get that face or not? You get it. It's your own face. But if you want to see it, you need a mirror. And you will get different reflections of it depending on the mirror. But once you realize it's my own face, are you addicted to seeing your own face in the mirror? No. That would be crazy. You are completely satisfied by knowing that all of this Ananda is I myself. Then there is no urge, either in Vishayananda or Bhajanananda, trying to get more and more spiritual joy or more and more worldly joy. There is no particular urge. You are completely fulfilled. Whatever comes, very good. Doesn't come, very good. I don't depend on it at all. So that complete infinite fulfillment is the result of jnana, enlightenment. Yeah. Nitya sukham buddho. Yakaschit sa surendra vandita pado. Even the gods who get a fraction of it, 10 to the power 5 or 10 to the power 6 or something like that, they worship this knower of Brahman. Surendra means king of the gods. They worship the knower of Brahman. That one is my conviction that that one is worthy of being worshipped by the gods also. That is my conviction. Nunam manisha mama. So that is the last verse. Good.